Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Casino Pete, and we're going to get ready for the UFL Week 7 picks. But before we get to that, I want to throw a shout out to Easy Money Sniper 007, who picked the over for that Memphis and Houston Roughnecks game while I chose the under. So, congratulations to you. And he actually made several key comments during the week, which I should have paid attention to because I might have went the under as well. But anyway, this past weekend had an interesting theme, and the first theme that I'm going to say, if anyone listens to the Red Hot Chili Peppers and their song give it away now, give it away, give it away, give it away now," well, basically that's what these teams did this past weekend when they lost. These four teams that lost this weekend pretty much gave away their games, and I mean, I got to tell you that some of these games were close, and then the shenanigans began with fumbling, interceptions, no blocking. I mean, just a perfect example was the DC Defenders losing this past week to the Michigan Panthers. Now, on paper, and I even said in my previous video, I was going to go DC straight through, right? Money line over and under, as well as the spread. And that was a big letdown. I even gave points about the fact that Michigan, if they stay on the ground, which they did very well with the running of Bryce Perkins and the tandem running back of Nate McCrary and number 35 Toa, who's really impressing me with his bowling ball mentality of running over people. But anyway, that game alone, I can't believe in one drive, one guy literally, I mean, unless you know the rules already, you cannot jump over the offensive line while a field goal attempt is being made. I totally forget how what the rule, what the name of that rule is, but he did it. It was the guy missed the field goal for Michigan, and it was 4th and 5. Not only did he miss the field goal, but because of the penalty, it made it 1st and goal. It's just mind boggling the way they were shooting themselves in the foot in this game, man. And listen, I even said it. It was going to be a risk that whole week to pick DC over Michigan, and I certainly did not trust my eyes when I always tell my sports bettors out there to trust their eyes. Anyway, this is going to be an interesting week. We're going to get to these games and these matchups, okay? But Easy Money Sniper, great job this week for making a comment in my comments about taking the over in the Memphis and Houston game. And sorry, buddy, I went against you, took the under, and I paid the price for it. But great job of you letting me know the injury report as well. And by the way, we both realized that Dressel Wynn is a good quarterback for the Memphis Showboats. But anyway, let's get going, all right? First and foremost, let me just show you the where I'm going, okay, with my whiteboard again. Okay, if you guys can see that. I moneylined already the Defenders, the Arlington Renegades, the Birmingham Stallions, and the St. Louis Battlehawks to win this weekend. Okay, so that's my whiteboard. We're gonna get back to that as well. But let me just say this. Okay, so this past weekend, and I'm gonna check my notes right now because I want to be accurate with you guys. You guys have been great. Hopefully, hopefully, Easy Money Sniper is doing better than me, right? But anyway, look. Overall, I'm 14-10 on the money line. Again, a little bit disappointed with that. I like to see that record improve. On my over and unders, I'm surprised that this season I'm 15-9 with that. You know how hard that is to predict if a game's going to go over or under. And then on my spreads, I'm 12-8 for the season. We did miss week 1. We never betted on the spreads, but after week 2, we're 12-8 on it. So this past weekend, 3-1 with the spreads, not bad. Over and under again, 2-2. I'm still above 500 with that, 15-9 overall for the season. And then on my notes with the money line, we went 3-1. So at least that improved from last weekend because I believe last weekend I went the weekend before I should say I went 1-3. Now we went 3-1. But again, when I put the whiteboard up, you guys can mix and match. Hopefully, you guys did a better job than me. I did go 3-0 in one game as I'm looking at my notes, and that was the Stallions game. And we were a little nervous about that game, weren't we? Because we were saying to ourselves, Jesus, Memphis destroyed Birmingham just the previous weekend, and they are one of the worst teams. Not too bad of a team, but they're right down there with the worst teams in the league, and they pulled the upset. So here I was, looking at the Stallions game, going, "Oh my God, this could be a bad, bad, bad game for us." And you know what? San Antonio is yet again proven that they are the worst team in the league. But anyway, we're going to go to the matchups because I already posted up the whiteboard, and then we're going to go into detail what happened this past weekend. And like I said, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, that song was playing in my head. Give it away, give it away, give it away now. I mean, it seems like these teams just were really not playing well at all. But let's get to it, and hopefully you guys can agree with me. If not, pick and choose how you want to go with my whiteboard. If you want to parlay it differently than the way I do it, that's fine. That's what it's all about, giving you that edge. Okay, so let's start off with the first game up this weekend. And this is going to be a good game that's coming up because if you really think about it, right? These games this weekend, they're going to be interesting. Okay, so let's see where we stand right now. Okay, here we go. It's going to be okay, I think, excuse me for a second. I got my notes mixed up here, but okay, here we go. Here we go. Sorry about that, folks, for the delay, but you got the DC Defenders at 4-2 at the San Antonio Brahmas, 1-5. And come on, guys, are we even going to play around with this? We got the DC Defenders to win this game, so let's money line that, right? Can we agree on that, right? Even though they got blasted by the Michigan Panthers, I mean, let's figure this one out. I mean, undisciplined football by the DC Defenders. Really, undisciplined football. And again, you had that one great pass by Jordan Tyamo. And then after that, what happens? Just seems like the play calling, the offense just couldn't get it together. And to lose to Michigan the way they did was disappointing, considering they have a good, solid defense, right? So I think they rebound here, right? San Antonio just not playing well, just not a very enthused football team. They look like that defense just totally different from last year's defense. Um, for a team that went to the championship game, this has got to be the most disappointing of all the teams in the UFL. They're just not playing well. I mean, there's nothing on that defense that shouts anyone that's standing out. It's not like they have bad players, okay? For some reason, they're just not cohesive enough. Okay, there are certain plays where it's mind-boggling. Missed tackles. I mean, what we saw this past weekend was just terrible. I mean, I'm sorry, guys, but I got to call it for what it is. And I think this weekend you guys are going to get slapped around a bit by the DC Defenders because they got slapped around by Michigan in that running game. And guess what, San Antonio? You're getting a defense that gets after the quarterbacks. They're going to be hungry. They want to rebound. They embarrassed themselves this past weekend, um, and they just got to rebound. I just don't see how this team's going to lose this weekend. So I got DC to win. Can we agree on that, people? I'm pretty sure we could. Right? Need to see yet again better running game by DC. I mean, you got all the weapons at wide receivers and at tight end. I mean, you guys are really talented at the receiving unit. Jordan Tyamo, a misleading stat, leading the league in passing, right? But yet here we are during games, overthrowing receivers, underthrowing receivers. Sometimes, he'll get in the rhythm and then there'll be a misstep here and there. I think at this point, I'm going to say, I think a lot has to do with the play calling because you got to get that running game going. Abram Smith, you guys got to get going, all right? So -6.5. That's what we're seeing here as the early line, -6.5. Can he beat San Antonio by 7? By 7.5? I'm going to tell you this. As Vegas goes along this week, they're going to up that number. That's why you got to jump on these early lines. If it's showing -6.5, and for DC to beat them by 7, you got to jump on it. Can they beat them by 10? They should. This is San Antonio. They got no offense. Literally, they got no offense. And I'm telling you, they're just lifeless on defense. I don't see the big playability at all. I don't know what's going on with the defensive coordinator and this unit. Usually the defense is ahead of the offense in leagues like this, but San Antonio is just not showing it. Now, the over and under is at 37.5. Okay, it's at 37.5. So we got DC as the money line, and then we got against the spread at -6.5. But that over and under is 37.5. And I'm trying to think of a score in my head. Let's say it ends up 28-10. That's over 38, right? I mean, at 38, I should say. So you will lose the under at 37.5. But for some reason, DC's not taking advantage in certain situations. I mean, come on. The passing game definitely is there, right? But you guys got to do a much better job of being consistent every time you take the field. You got the weapons and you have to utilize them. I mean, you got wide receivers like Scott, like Mickens, like Braylon Sanders, and Roland. I mean, Roland, come on, man. This guy he's a playmaker. He's definitely a good player prop. So is some of these receivers are good player props, but again, the inconsistency. So I took the under at 37.5. Why? Because I think when Vegas threw out this number of the over and under at 37.5, they're probably counting on guys to jump on it, right? And say, no, I'm taking the over. I'm taking the over. And then the game plays on, and the final score will be 27-10. Or 27 to maybe 6, something like that. I'm expecting DC to come into this game. I'm not saying it's going to be a cakewalk because we all know in the UFL, these games could play out so differently and the unpredictability. San Antonio really doesn't, they started Kevin Hogan, a former NFL veteran, this weekend. Listen, what a horrendous drop by Jontre Kirkland. I mean, you can't put the ball any better. Kevin Hogan definitely has a gun. Okay, I mean, for a guy that just came off the street to add veteran presence to San Antonio's offense, I mean, he was putting the ball there. And Kirkland, you got to do a better job, man. Come on, man. I mean, you're too talented of a wide receiver, but I get it. With all the crap that's been going on with your offense at the quarterback position, yeah, it is going to be difficult at times to adjust to certain quarterbacks. But on a play like that where you're wide open and you can make a difference before the half, you need to catch that ball. So I don't want to fully blame Kirkland on why this game went the way it did, but got to play better like that, especially when you're playing the defending champs. I mean, come on. That was a game that you guys needed to at least show me something, but they didn't. They got their asses handed to them. It was just poor play all around by San Antonio. It really was. Pardee, the head coach, had a lot of high hopes for this guy. He seemed like he came into a difficult situation, taking over for Wade Phillips, and maybe that's where they lost their luster. And he takes over, and there was a little pep in the first game, and then the second game just didn't go the right way. After beating the DC defenders, I was like, hey, watch out for this team. Maybe they needed that youthful enthusiasm, and it just hasn't panned out. The quarterback situation is bad. They bring in Kevin Hogan, which was actually a step up considering what we saw from the other guys at the position. But I'm going to take the 37.5 as the under. I'm sorry. DC struggling themselves after what I saw because San Antonio, get Anthony McFarland involved in this game. Kirkland, if you rebound back, you could get this game close. But -6.5 right now, I'm going to jump on because I think DC should be able to win this game by at least 10 or above. You're going to see that line go up this week in Vegas. So if you see this line out, jump on it. DC has the money line. The under for me is 37.5. I don't know if Easy Money Sniper is going to jump on that. He might just trip me up again and take the over. Good job by him this past weekend. Against the spread, -6.5. Woof. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it. I hope I could go 3-0 in this one. All right. Let's get to that next game, right? This is going to be a tough game to pick. It really is all across the board. But I'm gonna try to trip up Vegas on this. Sports bettors out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You have the Arlington Renegades. Okay, um, they're going to be playing at Arlington this weekend. Okay, now they've been struggling of late. Okay, they're playing the Michigan Panthers, who are coming off a very impressive team win against the DC Defenders. And what they did in that game is exactly what I was talking about and was expecting. Okay, I told you from the very beginning in my previous video, trust your eyes. They do have a solid running game. They really do. I think they got the best running back tandem in the UFL with Toa, number 35, and Nate McCurry. I think you got the human bowling ball, and then you got another guy who could come in, mix it up, can catch the ball out of the backfield as well, and hit the line of scrimmage like a bowling ball himself. So that's a good running tandem. And then you got Bryce Perkins, who's mobile at quarterback. So Michigan at 4-2, impressive win in a blowout against DC. Although DC handed themselves that blowout with stupid penalties and whatnot. But they're going to Arlington, a team that struggled the past 2 weeks. This is a desperate team. They're going into a desperate situation. So 4-2 team, Michigan, going to a 3-3 team, in which Arlington has dropped the last two games, really two tough games. Okay, now they're sitting at 3-3. Okay, they got a good quarterback in Luis Perez. Okay, so I feel like this is going to be a terrific matchup this week between Perez and Bryce Perkins. Um, the edge, obviously, I'm going to give to Perkins because he's been playing better. His mobility, that was outstanding this week, bouncing off tackles, getting away from sacks. Just added to what Michigan was doing with their running game. So that was very impressive. He is going to play Arlington, a much lesser defense, but not a bad defense. They do have playmakers out there in that defense, and they're going to have to step up. That defensive line is going to have to make plays against Michigan if they want to stop the passing from Michigan and the running game. That defensive line is going to have to step up. But this game's at Arlington. And as we know, we always try to give an edge, especially in a tough game, to the home team, right? What's that sports better analogy that, or better yet, what do sports bettors always say in their Bible, right? Their sports Bible. You always give a 3-point edge, right? You give the home team 3 points, right? So when I'm looking at this game, and this is tough all the way across the board, so I know you sports bettors could go in and out with this. I don't know. I mean, me personally, this -1 that they're giving, I believe, let me see where I have them, right? Yeah, these guys are giving the Michigan Panthers. Vegas is saying that Michigan's going to win this game by 2, possibly by 3. It can happen. Michigan is playing out of their mind right now, defensively as well as offensively. Mike Nolan's doing a great job. He started the season with a bad O-line. He kind of traded for an offensive lineman. Had to get rid of one of his star receivers to do so. And now it's turning out to be a great trade because it's now turning into something where when it comes to the running game and you're playing tougher teams, that's very important to have, especially on the road, and especially if you're going to play a tough team on the road. And this is going to be a great test for that O-line because they're going to have to get that running game going this weekend. And Arlington has their hands full. Arlington has weapons. They got a running game themselves. They haven't been showing it much, but they got a running game. If they just keep the ball on the ground this weekend with Kalen Ballage, okay, if they give Luis Perez time to throw, the Spring King, he has weapons. He could get the ball downfield to Tyler Vaughns or Canella. You know, he's got weapons. This is going to be a tough one, and I'm taking a risk. I'm taking the money line on the Arlington Renegades. And I know there's guys out there saying, how could you? How could you? They're not playing good football. And Michigan's coming in riding off a high. They just beat an outstanding defense. What do you think they're going to do to Arlington? Listen, you guys might be correct. This is what I'm saying. You guys got to pick and choose where you want to go with this. Me personally, I'm going to take Arlington because I just think Vegas is trying to trip us up, right? This could be another game where a good team's playing a desperate team. It's an away game for Michigan. They're going to be playing at Arlington. Arlington needs this game if they have any chance of winning that division or even coming in second. Remember, each division, the USFL division and the XFL division, okay, they're going to have to find a way to be on that second or first slot. They're only taking 2 teams from each division into the playoffs. So it's coming down right now. We're going into week 7. Desperate game. This is a huge, huge monumental game for both these teams. I just think Arlington's going to pull it out. I think by the end of the week, it's going to be some type of pick'em game. It's probably going to go to -1 to a pick'em. Me personally, I'm just going to take the Renegades because they're at home, and that's for no other reason. But Michigan's a dangerous team. They got themselves a good running game, okay? Now, combine that with how Bryce Perkins is playing back there. He's playing like he's going back into the NFL. And if I was an NFL team, I'm taking note of this. I'm definitely looking at Bryce Perkins. If I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, the New Orleans Saints, or maybe the Las Vegas Raiders, I'm looking at Bryce Perkins to give him a call. He's playing outstanding lately, and I got to give that shout out to him. But this is a game that I'm going to take a risk and take the Renegades only because they're at home. As far as the over and under, this over and under is high. Well, is it really 43.5? I don't know what Easy Money Sniper is going to do here. He'll probably send me a comment and say he probably took the under. And you know what? I'm going to take the under on this, 43.5. You know, Arlington played a tough defensive game against St. Louis, right? St. Louis had all these weapons, and they ended up a 12-6 loser, right? 12-6 because there was a couple of turnovers. Again, the theme from last weekend, giving it away. Arlington gave that game away. They were in it. That defense did show up for Arlington, and they played very well against a tough St. Louis offense. And yet they held them to 12 points. They made one bad mistake in the secondary, giving up that big touchdown to Hakeem Butler, right? Right before the half, I believe it was. And they kept them. They were in that game, 12-6. And what happens? A fumble late in the game. And yet again, this happened for a couple of weeks earlier with Arlington. A fumble late in the game, an interception late in the game, and they had lost to the DC Defenders. Well, guess what happened against the St. Louis Battlehawks? Same thing. So now we're asking the Renegades, can you put a complete game together with no mistakes? Maybe this is a running game. Maybe this is going to be a battle of who runs the ball better. Obviously, Michigan's coming into this game probably one of the best running games. But Arlington could get that running game going with Kalen Ballage. He's a big guy. And you better keep those edge rushes off of Luis Perez if you want a chance. So I'm going to take Arlington Renegades money line. I'm going with the under, 43.5. I'm going to probably kick myself in the ass when I find out later that I should have taken the over, because do I see a 24-20 game here? Yes, I do. Do I see 23-21 game? Yes, I do. Do I also see a 20-17 game? Yes, I do. You know, I'm going to give you scores that I think can happen in this game. It could be 23-17. Could be 27-10. It could be. These are games where you have to be careful. This is a tough game for a lot of sports bettors out there. This is tough. I think sharp bettors will know what to do with this game. I think people with more experience than me betting on this game, like Easy Money Sniper, I think those guys know what they're doing. They'll probably have this game. I'm going to take Renegades money line. I'm going with the +1 with the spread. The +1. Okay? Only reason is because if you're going to pick the money line Renegades, then you have to take the +1, right? You don't take the minus, right? Because the minus is under the Michigan. But I think at the end of the week, you're going to see that become a pick 'em game. I don't see this moving up. If that point spread moves up, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be. This is one of those games where you have to look at it and go, do I really want to pick anything in this 3-leg parlay, single game 3-leg parlay if you decide? I'm just taking a chance here with the Renegades, the under 43.5 and the +1. That's just me. But I know there's guys out there are probably looking at this like, nah, we're gonna stick with Michigan. We're gonna probably go the over, and we're gonna do that -7. And that's not a bad deal to do. With the player props, you're gonna run with Bryce Perkins. You're gonna do Toa, Nate McCurry like a touchdown maybe in this game. You know, on the other side with the Renegades, obviously Luis Perez may be good for over 225 in this game. Unless this becomes a running battle, you may want to stick with Kalen Balaj as a touchdown maker in this game. So, with that said, let's move on to the next game. And Stallions coming off what we expected, beat up on a shit team. And right now, San Antonio is not playing well, and Stallions will be heading to Houston. Yet again, another good game with a lot at stake, right? Houston needs this game, okay? They're playing much better than what I've expected. I think CJ Johnson is finally understanding what he has at quarterback. However, the offensive coordinator this week, I was a little disappointed because this game could have easily went the other way, the way Houston played. Memphis stayed in that game. At one point, it was 10-zip Houston, and Memphis came right back, made it 14-10. Again, no blocking by Memphis in that game. I mean, what the hell happened? And as it turned out, that was the difference. It's why Houston won that game. Now they're playing a better team, a well coached team. Again, I'm going to go back to the CJ Johnson. I don't think he's that bad of a coach. I just think he's not that good of a head coach. Okay, that's all I'm saying. That doesn't mean he can't coach. I think the guy has a resume that speaks volumes. I mean, his resume pretty much gets him back into the NFL or any coaching job. Head coach, I think I'd be hesitant hiring a guy like this because right now the talented Houston Roughnecks are winning because of that. Jalen McClendon has been nothing but a sunshine to this team that was dreary at the beginning of the season. And I like to see Saquandre White out of the backfield more, catching screens and maybe running patterns in the middle of that field because it seems to me he's too light on his ass to be running the ball more than 10 or 15 times in a game. I know it centers around him, but I just don't get it. I just don't see how Saquandre White. I mean, he's got a big heart for a guy who's light on his ass, and he could tote the ball. And Kurt Merritt. Kurt Merritt's another good one. Bounces off tackles. He had a heck of a play against Memphis this past weekend. Playmakers like McClendon, Justin Hall, they got to start throwing that ball a little bit more deeper. You got a quarterback that could definitely throw the rope. Um, you guys have to do a better job with the play calling. That's all I'm saying because you kept Memphis around in a game where you really should have blown them out. You really should have. I mean, from what I was watching, I was like, you know what? This game's going to be a blowout. It started off 10, 10-zip, and then it ended the way it did. And you can't have that. You got to take care of business. You got to get better play calling. CJ Johnson's got to do a whole lot better with what he has as talent on that offense. I mean, Justin Hall's a good receiver. So is Wims. Okay, Kurt Merritt's another guy who you could run the ball more with. I mean, he's bullish. And then you got a guy what's his face? Saquandre White. I'm sorry, Saquandre White. Right. This is a guy that could come out of the backfield for you. You get him one on one with a linebacker, he could do definite justice for you. But you survived. You're 3-3. Now you got the big game coming. You got the big dogs coming in at 4-2. Looks like the Stallions now with Case Cook has got injured a little bit. And by the way, let me say that the weekend before I kept saying Matt Corral, and I should have been saying Case Cook because Matt Corral was injured. Don't know if he's going to be back for this game, but Case Cook is still the quarterback. He did get a little bit of an injury there. Okay. Don't particularly like the backup that came in, although he did play well. But, if you could get Matt Corral back and maybe Alex Magoo later on, you guys could be in the driver's seat going into the playoffs. But now you're going to Houston playing an upstart football team that started the season really not doing well with the quarterback situation. Now they found one in Jalen McClendon. I put him in the same category as Bryce Perkins because he could definitely wing that football down the field. We have seen him make big plays with not just his legs, but he's taking control of that offense. So this is a tough game. And what I have is the money line on the Stallions. Okay, so this is a game where the over and under was at 38 and a half. I'm going to take the over. I just think that these two teams are going to go at it. I think these two teams are going to put some points on the board. Jalen McClendon. Okay, you got to look at it this way. Stallions came off playing a really bad football team. And we saw what happened the previous weekend when they lost to a bad football team. So now they're going to go up against a better football team, the Houston Roughnecks. Good defense, okay? Solid at defense, okay? And I just think there's going to be the problem I see is I think the Stallions defense is really good. And the Houston defense is really good, right? So both these quarterbacks going to have their hands full. But I think the playmaking ability of Jalen McClendon running around is going to force Birmingham to play a little bit more back. They may want to take their chances on their blitz packages and maybe the edge rushes or the interior line to push forward on the inside and force McClendon to come rolling out. I think the secondary of the Stallions, this is a game where they have to be careful because from what I saw against San Antonio, where guys were running free but dropping passes, that's not going to work against Houston. They got some playmakers. And I think this is the Saquandre White game where he comes out of the backfield and really hurts them. This game, I think, could be high scoring. And I'll tell you why. Vegas puts it at the over and under at 38 and a half. But I don't see it this way. I see this game somewhere around maybe 23-20, 24-20, 27-23 type of game. Like I do see the over on this. Now, people are going to say, come on, guy, trust your eyes. These are two good defenses, all right? They're struggling, the Stallions, on offense. True, they are. And Houston, it's not like they have superstar players on wide receiver. I think the Stallions are going to buckle down, beat them down. They're going to keep Jalen in the pocket and possibly. But this is how Vegas likes to trip you up. They literally put -6.5 for the Stallions to win this game by 7. That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. -6.5. This is why I'm taking the +6.5. I think Houston's going to hang around because of Jalen McClendon, Saquandre White. They use him good correctly. Kirk Merritt, give him the ball more. Hopefully he's okay after sustaining what looked like a bad injury, but I think he bounced back from that. Try to get Hall involved, your wide receiver. Try to get that kid involved. I just think they'll keep it close, but not enough to beat the Stallions. Even though they're playing at home, they'll probably have. Listen, when teams are playing at home, I'm still a little upset that they're not getting the fan base to support them, okay? We got to do a better job as fans to support your teams. I'm starting to see some fans coming out. Like sometimes the beginning of the game, you'll see these empty seats, and then all of a sudden you'll see fans like walking around, and then they'll sit somewhere that's really empty. And it kind of looks bad for the UFL by not getting the fanfare out there. But you guys got to go. They're making it family friendly, man. I mean, the tickets are cheaper than the NFL. I mean, the atmosphere has to be a whole lot better. Come on, guys. Outside of St. Louis and the DC Defenders who have a good fan base, there's a lot of teams out there that need support, and you guys got to start showing up. It can't get any better than this, and I get it. It's spring. It's warm weather. The families do, other things like barbecuing and stuff like that. But you got to support your team, and I think Houston needs your support this weekend. And if you're tuning into my videos, Houston fans, support your team this weekend. They're going to need it. Okay, they really are. This is a big game for them, and right in front of them are the defending champs. If they make a statement, the statement game, this is it. Although I'm taking the Stallions, but Houston could easily win this game. Okay, they got a playmaking quarterback who could get the job done, and that's going to be the key for this game. Keeping him upright, keeping him away from rolling out, because if he starts rolling out and throwing downfield, this is going to be a problem for the Stallions. And we all saw how John Trey Kirkland got past that defense. I mean, they got to do better at corner. They're a little bit weak there. And that secondary, San Antonio should have kept that game a lot closer. But again, Stallions coming off playing a bad team. Now they're going to roll to Houston and play a better team. 4-2 against 3-3. I'm a money line the Stallions. I'm taking the over at 38.5, and I'm taking a plus 6.5 in this game. Okay. Now that doesn't necessarily mean I go 3-0, but it just means that Vegas does it like this. They will trip you up. They do everything they can to trip you up. That's how Vegas is, right? They actually are basically saying that the Stallions are going to win by 7. They've been struggling. They're struggling on offense all season. Injuries at the quarterback position. Case Cook has got hurt against San Antonio, then came back in because the backup got hurt, and we don't know how good he's going to be. They do have another backup who's played on this team for several years and actually came into the championship game a couple of seasons ago. But maybe that's an option they should think about. Putting what is it, Smith, right? Smith. If you put this guy in, maybe he could be like Jalen McClendon, running around too. Forcing plays. Because they have talent at the offensive skill position. This is a big test for Houston, but I just don't see them winning this game. I think Stallions will cover, right? I think they could win by 7, but I do have that plus 6.5. Like I'm tripping my own self up, right? Because I'm taking the plus 6.5 because I just think Houston's defense will keep them in the game. But then I trip myself up by saying I think the Stallions will win by 7. I'm just doing it my way. This doesn't necessarily mean you guys have to follow. You guys can mix and match or whatever you want to do. I do 3-leg single games, right? I do those 3-leg parlay single games, right? So if it's Stallions against Houston, I do a 3-leg 10 money line, over and under, and spread. That's just me. But you guys could mix and match. You guys probably did a whole lot better than me. I only have one win this weekend with the 3-leg parlay. In which game was it again? It was I believe it was the St. Louis. It was the St. Louis game. I believe that was the game that I won there, right? And let me check my notes again, right? Because I want to make sure. No, it was the Stallions game. Sorry. It was the Stallions game. Sorry about that. Stallions. That was the one that I went 3-0. That was my 3-leg single game parlay. Took the Stallions money line. I took the over and under. I took the under, and then I took the minus 8.5, and they covered. Because San Antonio is just a terrible football team right now. I have no confidence in them at all for the rest of the way. They're just not motivated or something. I just don't get it. But let's move on to the next game. We have the St. Louis Battlehawks 4-2 at Memphis Showboats 1-5. You see, these are the games where the sports bettor walks into the sports book, looks at his app, and he goes, man, just taking St. Louis all the way through, right? St. Louis woke up, 2 very impressive victories. Okay, so they woke up. All right, it was a defensive battle. They did struggle a little bit against Arlington on offense. But you got Hakeem Butler, you got Jackson, you got Jacob Saylors. Don't know what's going on with Jacob Saylors, but we need to see him get the ball more. I mean, he is an explosive player on offense and a great player prop if you can get him. But Max Duggan is doing a lot of more running than throwing. That's what I'm starting to notice. Like maybe this guy is getting plays that fit his his style of play. And I get it. Some coaches fall in love with the style of play. When Manny Wilkins was in there, and he's out for the year, so that whole concept on offense changed completely. But when Manny Wilkins was in there, it looked like he was a little of both, right? He was getting the job done throwing and running. He would throw at the right time. He would run at the right time. Seems like Max Duggan is like, hey, once I get the ball, if I find a gap, I'm running. I'm not even going to wait for the receiver to get open. But I think they're going to have to work on that a little bit because that could be their downfall as the season progresses. And if they're going to be that team that I picked at the end of the year, to be in that championship game, then Max Duggan's going to have to show me that he could get the job done when you're falling behind in the game, that you have what it takes to bring back your football team and win. So Max Duggan has to get better passing wise. I'm not saying he's playing terribly. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that the play calling lately has been a lot of bit of trickery, or it's been a lot of motion, and then Max Duggan deciding whether or not, hey, you got this option, and then your second option just take off, and he's taking off a lot. Okay, he had a big run against Arlington this past weekend, but he can also get hurt the way he's running. All right, he's a very flashy player. Looking sort of like the guy that, was Heisman runner-up, right? A few seasons ago back in college. But he's going to be playing Memphis. Let's work on that passing game, St. Louis. This is a game you should not be. Memphis shouldn't even be in this game from the second quarter on. This game should be a blowout. This game should be a blowout. And you know what's sad about saying that? Like, I actually took the over 39. Like, the over and under is at 39. This is exactly what I'm saying about Vegas, right? Do they know something I don't know? As a sports bettor, I look at this and this is all a trap, all the way through a trap. Look at where the spread is at -4. Now, what have we seen from Memphis that can tell you that this game's going to be close? Yes, they played the Houston Roughnecks last weekend. Yes, Dressel wins a better Dressel win. If I had to compare the passing of both these quarterbacks, Dressel win has a bit of an edge when it comes to throwing the football. Both these teams got talented wide receivers. Jonathan Adams and Lassiter for Memphis. And then you got my man, Hakeem Butler, Jackson, Sailors, guys like that for St. Louis. But Manny Wilkins is not at the helm. Manny Wilkins made St. Louis dangerous. It's one of the reasons why I have them in the championship game. I'm not saying that Max Duggan, in fact, I thought Max Duggan was going to start the season. So it's not like they had a fall off. But I do see the differences in both those two quarterbacks. Now, Dressel Wynn has been playing well. Nearly pulled out that game against Houston if it wasn't for their stupid O-line blocking. I mean, the special teams, they had about 3 punts that were either blocked or tipped. And I think that's going to get exploited this week by the Battlehawks. And then on that one sack where they fumbled the ball, the O-line did not show up on that last game. And they're going to have to in this game. Because when you look at the edge rushers for St. Louis, especially that kid with that name, boy, I can't get that name. He just has that strange name. And please, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the St. Louis Battlehawks. Peter, oh God, I can't even get his name. I tried writing it down the other day, and then for some reason, I don't even have that in front of me. But he's a fantastic edge rusher. Willie Harvey and Mike Rose are terrific linebackers. This is a game where I do see them. They're going to be blitzing Dressel Wynn. I guarantee you they're coming after this guy. But this -4 is crazy, right? I jumped on it. If you're going to give me the early line at -4, I'm going to jump on it. There's no way Memphis stays in this game. And if you think they're going to stay in this game, I don't know. Unless Deneric Prince runs the football and they keep this game on the ground and Dressel Wynn takes his shots every now and then because they do have good wide receivers, I just don't know enough about this game to say I'm I'm good with the over and under. That 39, really? They're saying this game's going to be 24-20, 21-20, I mean, do you see this becoming 23-17 type game where it hits the 40 mark? Really? Memphis hanging around? Again, this is how Vegas will do you. St. Louis is just too talented to keep Memphis hanging around. I'm not saying that Memphis is a bad football team because Boogie Roberts and those guys, they get the job done on defense. They really do. They're not a bad defensive team. So is the -4 correct? Do you see St. Louis winning this game by 5 or more? Me personally, yeah. I see St. Louis winning this game possibly by 10. This line's going to go up. Vegas is probably saying, all the money's rolling to St. Louis for this game. And why not? Anthony Beck's a fantastic coach. He's going up against Jim Turner and his abilities to coach his team. Jim Turner's not a bad coach. He has experience, all right? But, wow, you're talking St. Louis Battlehawks. They need this game. It's a big game for them. Memphis pretty much shut down after that loss to Houston. I just think that these players are going to play out the rest of the year. 4 games left, right? 4 games left, right? I think Memphis will play out their year, hopefully get to 500. Or they could just trip everybody up and play the game of their lives and give St. Louis the battle that Vegas is expecting. -4, I'm going to jump on it. I'm going to take St. Louis as the money line, the -4. But I am going to take the over because when I saw that -4, they're probably saying that this game's going to be high scoring and it's going to be close. It's possible. It could also go under 39. This is one of those. I believe all 4 games this weekend coming up for Week 7 is going to be very difficult. You guys are really gonna have to do a better job than me putting together your own parlays or single units or whatever it is. I'm just trying to give you this edge. Watch. Wait till I put up my whiteboard again. I'm gonna put it up again, and you're gonna see what I'm talking about. Okay. All right. You guys can see that, right? Now, if you can see the defenders, right? You see the Renegades, Stallions, and Battlehawks, right? Now, for most of you, you guys don't have to go this way. You guys can mix and match. Maybe you like the Stallions, right? Maybe you like all these 4 teams to win, and then just add either the spreads to it, right? You may look at that Renegades game against Michigan and just say, maybe I'll go with the Panthers. Maybe I'll go with the over. Maybe I'll go with the -1. You could do things like that. It's all about mix and matching that, right? Mix and match your own guys, right? Player props are important for a lot of people out there, but again, we're seeing a lot of injuries lately. We're seeing the quarterbacks. If I had a player prop quarterbacks out there, right? Definitely Bryce Perkins. These are guys that play the entire game. Jordan Ta'amu, I don't know what you're going to get from him. He did have a touchdown that was really nice in the last game, but they got blown out by Michigan. But every now and then, Jordan Ta'amu will throw a ball up there, surprise you, and his mobility is not bad either. So quarterbacks like Bryce Perkins, Jordan Ta'amu, Luis Perez, who's more of a pocket passer, Jalen McClendon's becoming a playmaker. Okay, Dresser Wynn is starting to play almost. I think they're going to run with Dresser Wynn for Memphis, more of a pocket passer. So it's going to be like that for player props, right? And then when you look at wide receivers, you got to look at guys like Justin Hall. You got to look at guys like the DC defenders, like Braylon Sanders, or guys like that, like Scott or Mickens, Ty Scott, Jay Mickens. Who else? Look at the Stallions with Deion Kane, Amari Rogers. You got Marlon Williams. They have 2 good tight ends in Jay Sternberger and Jordan Thomas, I believe is his name, because I got that name messed up for a couple of times last week. And so, sometimes names do trip me up. But when you look at those player props, right? You got to look at guys that you know are going to be playing constantly. Okay, same with running backs, right? You got to go with guys that play constantly, right? You got to go with bullish running backs around the goal line, like a Kalen Balaj, like a Wes Hills. Okay, I throw a shout out to Wes Hills, who's a bullish running back himself. Kurt Merritt, okay, guys like that. Abram Smith, who, when they're on the goal line, will get the ball. But how about those two guys from Michigan, Nate McCrary and Toa? Okay, number 35 from Michigan, a bowling ball, a guy that could bowl his way into the goal line. So when it comes to running backs, those are the props you may want to run, just touchdown wise, right? If you're looking for yardage, that's so difficult in these leagues. And also got to remember that the play clock plays against those stats. We all know that the play clock continues until the 2-minute warning, whether it's an incomplete pass or whatever. It's not like the NFL where they'll stop and you get a 3.5-hour game. These games are falling under 3 hours. Sometimes it's only those super challenges and those replays that makes these games continue, right? So that's what makes it difficult for stats to go higher than they should. Sometimes there's and you see it all the time when you watch these games, that sometimes they do those in-game props where on this particular drive, if you bet such and such, you'll win such and such if you get a field goal, touchdown, whatever. I try to stay away from that. Those are unpredictable. The league is unpredictable. I say it all the time, guys. The league is unpredictable, and you certainly see the roster changes. Kevin Hogan's is a perfect example. I mean, you had the disappointing Kellen Mond. So I don't know if he got hurt or they just released him, or I don't know what's going on. Maybe he's still around. Maybe he got hurt. No disrespect to Kellen Mond. I mean, sometimes leagues like this can trip up a superstar, right? I mean, we certainly see that guys that should be still in the NFL are in this league and struggling. And that was the case with Kellen Mond. Now I don't see him. Guardarino, I believe, is his backup. He's played well when he's come in. This weekend, he took a backseat to Kevin Hogan, who played extremely better than expected. He came off the bench. I think his last game was like maybe 5 years ago in the NFL. But he was putting touch on that football. And these guys, Kirkland's got to do a better job. Just got to do a better job in catching it. Okay, so it was disappointing to see that. So with that said, there's so many player props going on, but you got to pick the right ones. Otherwise, you're not going to win no money. I mean, it's exciting to sit there if you're betting small and winning big. But if you're a big bettor, a league like this is not good for you, especially a guy that's willing to throw like $100 into a single three-legged parlay in a single game, right? Like, for instance, if I had $100 and I had taken the Stallions last night, I think I would have won what? Let me see, 100 on a 3-leg parlay. The way that went down, I don't know if I'm correct because I've never done that with that $100 like that. But being that I had gone 3-0, remember the Stallions were favored all the way through, so you had minuses all across. So what would I have won? Like 300? I mean, yeah, maybe an extra 200 on the deal, right? But I'm a small bettor. I'm not like those guys that find an edge and then they throw that money around. But for you big bettors, and there are some good ones out there. Okay, there are some good bettors out there that know what they're doing. They see the edge. Some of them have online methods. They're bookies, and you got to pay them, and they bet for you. I mean, if you're willing to take that risk with some of these guys, then that's up to you guys, as sports bettors. Me personally, that's my money. And if I'm going to make a mistake, let me do the mistake. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to pay somebody to put my picks together. But a lot of times you get these amateur sports bettors and they're so desperate to win. Some of these guys are degenerate gamblers and they're willing to throw that money around. And for those of you that are degenerate like that don't understand the way the UFL plays out, I'm trying to give you guys an edge, right? So you have to tune in and figure out, maybe this guy knows what he's talking about. Look, last week, I knew what I was talking about. but I still make mistakes. And it was pointed out by Easy Money Sniper 007. Made the commentary. He trusted his eyes. He saw the injury report. He saw who was going to play, who wasn't going to play for that game. He liked Dressel win, so we agreed on that. But he didn't like that I had on the over and under. He went his way, I went mine. I lost mine, he won his. Okay? So that is going to happen no matter how good of a sports bettor you are, right? There's a lot of YouTube channels out there. And by the way, hit that like and subscribe button. Give me a shout out like Easy Money. Okay, Easy Money Sniper. I'm hearing you. Give me a shout out. I would love to see you post up to your winnings for this past weekend as well as going forward. Definitely would love to hear more from you. I think you know what you're talking about. I think you're a smart bettor. And I would love to compare my records like I always do every weekend. I compare my records, right? Because overall this weekend I went 8-4. Okay, I went 8-4 this weekend. So that helped me a lot. Looking at my notes, going 8-4, I went overall record on the money line, yet again 14-10. My over and unders I'm at 15-9. And my spreads, I'm at 12-8 for the season. So I am above 500, but wish I can do better. But if you're doing better than me, post it up. Post it up. I would love to hear you guys, right? It's hard. Even in the NFL or college football, whatever it is that you choose to bet on, it's hard to hit, right? It's hard to hit. The great Billy Walters was a 57%er, and he was the best of all time. Okay, he wrote books. I'm not saying that there's guys that could do better out there, right? There's got to be someone out there that's hitting 70%, 80%. But if you're going to post up on YouTube and be like showing prop money and saying, or maybe taking pictures in front of a dealership with a car, or maybe you did buy that car, you rented it out for the week. And then you take those side photos where the license plate doesn't show or your tag plates don't show. So you sit next to your car with prop money and you bullshit your audience about how much you win and you got to roll with me. You got to send money my way so I can give you the right picks. That's not me. But if you feel comfortable saying you hit 80% of the time, then good for you. Good for you. But post up. Post up. Post up before you make the picks so we could really see how you do. And don't tell me, well, you got to go online. You got to go on my channel. Oh, you got to go do this. So no. I'm trying to give you guys an edge for free. You sports bettors are smart enough to know where to find your edges, whether it's during the week, like Easy Money did, if it's during the week where you probably look at stuff and you see the way the money lines or the spreads are going and whatnot. Yeah, you could definitely do that. You know, there are guys that know what they're doing. Again, I always say I'm amateurish when it comes to this, but I love football. I know what I see. I trust my eyes. Sometimes my eyes betray me, right? Like last weekend, right? There were certain games where I was like, oh, the DC Defenders, they're going to win. They're going to beat Michigan, that blitzing team. But at the same time, if you watched my video, I was saying that Michigan had a chance to win because if the running game gets going, which it did, they were going to beat DC, which they did. I just didn't expect the bullshit that went on with DC with the stupid penalties. You know, the guy misses a field goal, but you leaped over the O-line knowing that it's against the rules to do so and gave them an automatic first down. In fact, in that drive alone, there were two stupid penalties. Okay? The second one where the guy leaped over and the guy missed a field goal, that was the second of it. I believe that was the second of it. There was another penalty where it was 3rd and long or something like that, and it was a penalty that gave them 15 yards and an automatic first down. I think that's what happened. So there were two chances DC could have came off the field, and they chose to do something stupid. And it was just a stupid weekend overall. When I, looking at my notes, I could count them off. Like, I mean, they were giving games away. Like, you look at the Renegades, the fumbles, the O-line issues. Okay, you look at the Showboats, Memphis, special teams, no blocking. Okay, you look at DC, which we just talked about with the stupid penalties. Okay, poor tackling too. How the hell you let Bryce Perkins out of your grasp? It must have been like 5 times. And then when he started running, people were bouncing off of him. This is not Earl Campbell. This is not fucking Derrick Henry. And Bryce Perkins ran around circles on your defense. Then you had San Antonio, the big drop by Kirkland, okay? The stupid offside penalties, bad defense, poor tackling. See, this is what I'm talking about when you're watching these games. And as a sports bettor, you look at this and you go, well, shit, I didn't know this was going to go this way. But I told you guys, I have videos telling you, is it bad to bet on the UFL? I explained it fully how unpredictable this league is. You could be the greatest sports edger out there and better. Now, okay, you want to sit in front of your laptop throughout the week. You want to stay there for hundreds of hours. I'm sure the good ones are there for not just the UFO, but they're there for basketball, right? The playoffs are going. They're there for golf. They're there for hockey. They're there for every sport. They know what they're talking about. They make a living out of this. And then there are some like me who really don't make a living out of this. We're just here to entertain and have fun. Guys that, I'm retired, but there's guys out there that go to work. They come home. They tell their wives, hey, listen, I just played with the kids. I put them asleep, took care of all the family issues that we needed to. So I have a little bit of time. I'm going to head downstairs to my basement, or I'm going to sit in the room. I'm going to be, I'm going to look up some stuff, see what I can do this weekend at the sports book or on my app. I get it. And if you're one of those guys, that's just like me. That's what I do. I take care of everything else first before I go gambling. And like I tell everybody every weekend on my videos, don't go gambling. Stay away from it. The minute you start winning, you're going to get hooked. You think it's easy? It's not easy. And I'm living proof of that. Okay? Even though I'm above 500 with my money lines, the over and unders and the spreads, you know how hard that is? To even be above 500, even by one game, that's hard. And I'm telling you right now, if you're starting off as an amateur sports gambler, because it is addictive to a lot of people, that's why it ruins lives. That's why I tell people don't do it. But if you're like me and you're starting over, or starting now, I wish you the best, and I hope you know how to rear back a little bit with your gambling and understand that your family comes first, right? Take care of that first. Everything you do with gambling has to be with money that you're going to have fun with. That's the best way of putting it. I think I covered most of it. I'm going to put my whiteboard up again. So what I've been doing lately is putting up my whiteboard, immediately when you tune into my channel. Okay. I do this purposely now because I want people when they tune in they don't have to worry about me rambling on too much. These are the early lines. This is as of Monday morning. I was able to get these lines on my app. Could have gotten them earlier, but I do wake up a little bit later than usual. So as of Monday morning, these were the lines they were putting out, and I just jumped on it. Sometimes you go with your first instinct, you jump on those early lines. Some guys look at the early lines, they don't do nothing with it. They just wait till like maybe Thursday or Friday, Friday being, before the games begin. Or sometimes they just wait till the beginning of the game, then they start doing all their betting at the sports book or on their app. But there's so many ways and so many methods. When I go to the casinos, I sit there sometimes and watch the games play out while my wife plays the slot machines. If I'm not doing that, I'm at the table games playing craps, So, when it comes to betting games, I print out the ticket or I go up to the sports book and, especially if I'm at the casino, I'll just do it right there in front of them, or I'll look at the line as it's coming. Like I usually bring my notes, and then I look at, like, I'll compare my notes to what they have up there. If I see a change here and there, I might change it, or I'll just stick with it. Sometimes it's best to go with your instincts and stick with it. That's the best way to go about it. Stick with your instincts. Sometimes it works out better that way for a lot of people. But I put it out there to give you guys an edge. I don't need you guys to be looking up too much stuff. Family comes first, or your life comes first, I should say, right? Gambling is for entertainment and fun. There are people out there that take it seriously, which you're supposed to take it seriously. It's your money on the line. And some people do it the wrong way. Some people do it the right way. The true professional sports bettor probably pays or spends most of his time just going over stuff, making sure that he's picking right. A true professional sports bettor right now is probably in front of his laptop at home in his privacy, and he probably picks games right there from the laptop. But listen, guys, I just give this edge to you guys for free. It's up to you to mix and match. We're heading into week 7. It's an unpredictable league. A lot of roster changes. I told you that there's always a turnover in roster, right? Look, Kevin Hogan is now starting for San Antonio. The previous week, it was Kellen Mond. And then Guarandino got a chance to play. Then at running backs, they went away from using Anthony McFarland. I guess they felt they fell behind early. And they got another guy, Aiden Robbins, right? Aiden Robbins. Got to use those guys. San Antonio, you got away from what was helping. This is a team that went to the championship. And now I don't think they're going to see any playoff game. I think they'll probably get another win or two. But as of right now, the worst team in the league right now, in my opinion, just my opinion, is San Antonio. And that had to do, I believe, with the shakeup after the head coaching job with Wade Phillips. Hopefully he's doing okay. He's one of my favorite coaches. Hopefully he's okay. Peyton Pardee, I like his enthusiasm, but so far in the last 2 games, I just don't see it. I just don't see it paying off for him. Surprised that the players aren't feeding off his energy. They're really playing poorly on defense. Offense has no rhythm. It's really a lost cause. Then you look at the Houston Roughnecks. They got a good coaching staff, right? Like Chris Wilson and C.J. Johnson. Problem is, Chris Wilson probably is going to be a better head coach than C.J. Johnson. But it's the talent that Houston has that keeps this team going. We're hoping, or at least people that are going to pick Houston this week, right? I believe I got Houston for plus 6.5 to stay close in this game. Hopefully they'll play a tough game. For those of you rolling with Houston, they might pull it out against a struggling Stallion offense. So, teams like that, right? Then you got Arlington. Started the year good. They lost a couple of games now where they haven't looked good. Constant turnovers. They need to get their shit right because Michigan's coming in there this week to their home place. And Michigan got a running game. They got a hot quarterback right now. If they fall behind against Michigan, that running game's going to drive the Renegades out of town. Then you got the DC Defenders. A bunch of guys on defense that are too talented to be playing the way they did this past weekend. I didn't understand that at all. I mean, you got 2 solid corners in Thompson, DeAndre Baker. Thompson was missing. I mean, he came in on a blitz on one play, hit the quarterback, and bounced off of him. Come on, Thompson. You're better than that. You got DeAndre Baker out there. You got a good set of linebackers. They're not bad. You got an interior defensive line that could get at quarterbacks, including the edge rushers. The blitz package is good, but I don't know what the hell I saw this past weekend. Then they got issues at the quarterback position where he plays. There's continuity there. He has a plethora of receivers, right? I'm going to use that word again because there's an abundance of talent there. You got to use your running backs. Roland and Abram Smith are good receivers that could come out of the backfield. They could give you plays down the middle. Roland is showing me that he's quality. He's a quality player. And you got talented receivers. But, for sports bettors, this is what you're going to get. But anyway, I'm going to wish you guys luck this week. Easy Money Sniper. Keep posting up. Keep telling me how you feel about my picks. I appreciate that. Let me know some injury reports because you know what? I'm going to start paying attention to you too. So if you could put in on the commentary little things here and there, maybe I go to the sports book or on my app and maybe change a few of these picks. But right now I'm rolling with these guys. Okay, let me show it to you again. All right, just in case you fast forward my YouTube channel on my auto video. Here we go. Okay, that's going to be what I'm picking. Okay. Well, guys, thank you for tuning into my channel. Hit that like and subscribe button. Easy Money Sniper 007. I'm looking forward to listening to your commentary and reading it, I should say. I wish you guys a lot of luck in week 7. It's going to be interesting. 2 good games coming up this weekend. All right. You got the Michigan Panthers at Arlington, so tune into that one. And you got the Stallions at Houston Roughnecks. Those are the two, in my opinion, the 2 good games this weekend. All the other games should be blowouts. I mean, DC at San Antonio, that should be a blowout. Come on, DC. You keep this team around. I'm not going to have confidence in you guys. St. Louis at Memphis. That game also should be a blowout. Just too much talent on St. Louis side to keep Memphis in this game. Memphis will probably hang in there because they got a quarterback now and they're not that bad on defense. But St. Louis, you got to win this game by more than 4. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Hit the like and subscribe button. I'm Casino Pete, and I'm out.